I liked finance because every loan is like a puzzle, and I loved that because I got to look at every file before it went to underwriting, so I could pull it up and kind of screw with the DU findings and things like that, and like figure out a way to make this loan work. Like that's fun. I love problem solving, I guess. But eventually, I got to go to work every day with these a bunch of loan officers that they weren't making a bunch of money because it wasn't the time yet. This is 2009 and 2008 and 2009. Like people weren't making money in mortgages and real estate at that time. So it was depressing to come to work, and I hated it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And so that's why I said, no, I'm going back into real estate. And I had no clients. That's the one thing about my journey is that when I revamped my journey and I started over again, I started from scratch. And it was hard because a lot of people, like I had become a multi-millionaire by 27 years old, right? And at the time, I didn't pay attention to maybe your character or ego or stuff like that. I think that's why I'm way more conscious on how I try to project myself out there to people that I'm not that way. I wasn't born that way. I wasn't raised that way. And then when you lose everything, like, you have people in the background that are kind of like, you kind of had that one coming. When I didn't have it coming, it just happened. But like sometimes people that you think are rooting for you aren't rooting for you. So when I started from scratch in 2010, that's why I tell the story of real estate. Like I started from scratch 12 years ago. And when I'm on stage and I'm telling the story, like in 10 years, I became the #1 real estate broker in the United States. Like that doesn't happen. That is true hard work, dedication, relentless pursuit of wanting to always, always be on top. But I was doing it with something I was passionate about because I loved real estate. I could do this all day long, every hour of the day. And then as I started building the team and creating more partnerships and relationships, it really helped to position me to have some currency and comfortability to put money behind systems and technology and people and resources because I knew at least I had a flow of opportunity coming through the door. So that was the comfort level to go and grow the business. But people look at where you're at now and they don't know anything about that stuff in the past. None of it, right? It's just like, oh, you're Jason Mitchell, you're the real estate guy, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I am. But I'm also a human being that has gone through a hell of a lot in his life, like a lot of us have. And the struggles are what made me have the mindset that I have today and the things I do today, the reason I do things, the way I analyze things, the way I look at things, the way that if we're sitting in a meeting, I can poke holes at something quickly because I've experienced it. All that stuff is because you have experience. And that's why when I look at, I respect the grind and hustle of young entrepreneurs. But you can't tell me you're a life coach when you're 25 years old. Like, stop that shit. You're not a life coach when you're 25 years old. I don't even want to hear it. I don't. That's not your title. Now, if your title is serial entrepreneur, okay, cool. Like, you can have that one. But you can't tell me you're a life coach when you're 25 years old. Because you know shit about life yet. Agree?
Agreed.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess, what are you telling people? You're indestructible and everything's going to work out great? Like you felt when you were 25 and you were on top of the world, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you had been a life coach then. It would have been like, this shit's easy. Just do it. Yeah. Just get money. But, now that you've gone through the hard stuff, you could probably coach people on how to.
I hate the flash, too. Really. Like, I hate the flash. Bobby, you've been around me a lot the past couple of years, building all these courses out. Like, tell me how many times I'm like, I'm not doing that. And you were like, okay. A lot. I hate that stuff, man. Like, look at my watches and look at my this and that. Like, dude, no one. Like, if that's your stick, though, then that's your stick, and that's fine. Right. If that's what works for you, so be it. But I'm not talking about the 25-year-olds. I'm talking like if people look at Grant Cardone that way, guess what? It works for him. And if you actually know the guy in person, he ain't like that. That's just his shtick, right? And it's also real. Like, he's not making shit up. But he's also 63 years old. He's worked his ass off his whole life to be able to finally say those words. Like, I don't think you get excuses on that when you're 30 years old to talk about your bling. I'm sorry. Like, it's not a good look. And for me, it's not. And I don't want the people that work around me every day thinking like that's the way I roll. Like, I had a really nice sports car. I drove that thing 3 times? Sat in my garage. I gave it to my friends more than I drove it. Why? Because I didn't care. I just wanted it to have it as fun. But it wasn't like that wasn't my business card to success, is the fact that I have a McLaren, for Christ's sake, or a nice home. Like, my key to what I want is humility in what I do. and knowing like, hey, we got a long way to go. We got a lot more to build here. I want the people that work around me to know that I care about them more than anything. And I hope that's the one thing that if anybody talks about character, if there's one thing I want people, like people can say I can be forceful, that sometimes I'm tough, whatever. There's a lot of things I'm sure that people could say about me, but the one positive that I want people to say is I try my best to take care of people. I try my best to look at people and say, I'll always give you the benefit of the doubt. As long as you're not an opportunist, like I'll do it once, but if I start to see like similarities and opportunism, and what I mean by that is like people that are always just have their hand out, the oh, woe is me mentality, like I hate that shit. I have no tolerance for that stuff. But if you work hard, I'll always do anything I can to help support you in any way, shape, or form that I can. And I'll always give people the benefit of the doubt too. But then eventually, like if you habitually cross the line, then at some point you say, I can't do this anymore, man. I mean, you have children. Isn't it kind of like how you look at the kids, right?
When they make the same mistake without learning the lesson. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right, though. Like you were talking about motivation. You have passion for something, and then you have motivation. Like you'd had some not bad luck, bad things that happened through decisions you'd made when you were 27. You ended up, that's a motivator for you. You don't want to be in that space ever again. So I think that's part of why you keep driving. Like I see that every day when you show up.